Hello, Scott Telek, author of The Swithin, the Arthurian book series that stays completely faithful to the medieval Arthurian legend without trying to fix it. And we're continuing our reading of Morte d'Arthur, where Arthur just pulled the sword from the stone, and we're picking up moments afterwards, so let's get going.
Now try, said Sir Ector unto Arthur, and anon he pulled at the sword with all his might, but it would not be. Now shall you try, said Sir Ector to Arthur. I will well, said Arthur, and pulled it out easily. Therewithal Sir Ector kneeled down to the earth, and Sir Kay. Alas, said Arthur, my own dear father and brother, why kneel you to me? No, no, my lord Arthur, it is not so. I was never your father, nor of your blood, but I know well you are of a higher blood than I thought you were. And then Sir Ector told him all how he was betaken for him for to nourish him, and by whose commandment, and by Merlin's deliverance. Then Arthur made great dole when he understood that Sir Ector was not his father.
Okay, so Ector and Kay cannot pull the sword, but Arthur can. Then they kneel to him, and Arthur asks, why are you kneeling to me? And Sir Ector reveals that Arthur is not his son, but he's of much higher blood. At that time, they believed that blood was like a thing, and there was royal blood and there was common blood. And the royal people truly were genetically superior to people of those of lower status. And we'll hear this again and again when people complain that Arthur is not high-born or of higher blood. But let's slow down and think about what's happening here emotionally. Arthur just found out that he's adopted. The man and the woman who raised him are not his father and mother, but he doesn't know who is. So when I was writing my novel about Arthur's childhood, and I'm tasked with coming up with a different angle on the moment when he pulls the sword from the stone, which we've seen depicted thousands of times, that's what I focused on. That he's just found out in this moment he's adopted. And I kind of thought, what would Arthur's emotional reality be in that moment? Would he be thinking about this abstract idea that he's king, which he never thought about once in his life? Or would he be thinking about the fact that he was adopted and that the people he thought were his mother and father have been lying to him this whole time? In Morte d'Arthur, it says that Arthur made great dole when he found out that Sir Ector was not his father, so I was kind of building off that. Dole is sadness, like a doleful look or something like that. A lot of the time in the text when they say that something is dolorous, like the dolorous stroke that's coming up, or someone made great dole out of measure, it just means that they were really, really sad. Now let's think about Kay. First of all, remember that Kay's own mother, at Merlin's command, put him to a wet nurse so she herself could nurse Arthur. Now back then they believed that all this stuff was much more important than we do today, so in this case, Arthur gets the good milk while Kay gets the replacement milk. And it was thought that this would really determine your character. But even today, we know that a baby nursing from his mother creates an unshakable bond. And Arthur got that bond with his mother instead of Kay. Then they grow up, and now Kay's an also-ran while Arthur gets to be king. And don't forget the great moment when Kay, for just a second, claims that he pulled the sword instead of Arthur. Then later on, Kay turns out to be a bitter, sarcastic person. Could some of that be caused by the way he's treated here? Kind of seems like it. He's always next to Arthur, yet Arthur is always better than him. Likely to cause some resentment. Now, who's the missing person in all of this? Arthur's surrogate mother, Lady Ector. She's just nowhere to be found. Such an important person, the woman who raised the king, and yet she's given no space and not even given a name. When people say that the Arthurian legend isn't perhaps not the most feminist document, this is the kind of thing they're talking about. Okay, let's get back at it.
Sir, said Sir Ector unto Arthur, will you be my good and gracious lord when you are king? Else were I to blame, said Arthur, for you are the man in the world that I am most beholden to, and my good lady and mother, your wife, that as well as her own has fostered me and kept. And if ever it be God's will that I be king, as you say, you shall desire of me what I may do, and I shall not fail you. God forbid I should fail you. Sir, said Sir Ector, I will ask no more of you but that you will make my son, your foster brother Sir Kay, seneschal of all your lands. That shall be done, said Arthur, and more by the faith of my body, that never man shall have that office but he, while he and I live.
Okay, so now Ector makes one demand of Arthur, that he make Kay his seneschal. A seneschal is the one who runs the castle and keeps everything running smoothly. In the longer version, Ector makes Arthur promise that he cannot fire Kay no matter what he might do. So that's another admission that Kay is somewhat obnoxious and perhaps even incompetent, but also, how's that supposed to feel for Kay, who's like standing right there? His dad's lining up a job for him because he obviously thinks he can't do it himself. Pretty rough stuff.
Therewithal they went unto the archbishop, and told him how the sword was achieved, and by whom. And on 12th day all the barons came thither to try to take the sword who would try. But there, for them all, there might none take it out but Arthur. Wherefore there were many lords wroth, and said it was great shame unto them all in the realm to be overgoverned by a boy of no high blood born. And so they fell out at that time, that it was put off until Candlemas, and then all the barons should meet there again. But always the 10 knights were ordained to watch the sword day and night, and so they set a pavilion over the stone and sword, and 5 always watched. So at Candlemas many more great lords came thither for to have won the sword, but there might none prevail. And right as Arthur did at Christmas, he did at Candlemas, and pulled out the sword easily, whereof the barons were sore grieved, and put it off in delay until the high feast of Easter. And as Arthur succeeded before, so he did at Easter. Yet there were some of the great lords that had indignation that Arthur should be king, and put it off in a delay until the feast of Pentecost. Then the Archbishop of Canterbury, by Merlin's providence, let purvey them of the best knights that they might get, and such knights as Uther Pendragon loved best and most trusted in his days. And such knights were put around Arthur as Sir Bodwin of Britain, Sir Kay, Sir Ulfius, and Sir Brastias. All these with many others were always about Arthur night and day until the feast of Pentecost.
So they go tell the archbishop that Arthur pulled the sword, but Arthur is by most accounts only 15 years old at the time, and don't forget that no one knows who his real parents are, therefore they don't know if he is high-born, that is, born of royalty. So it's New Year's Day. What they do is they put the decision off until Candlemas, which is early February, just to see if someone else can pull the sword in the meantime. No one can. So they put it off until Easter, which is in April. But still no one but Arthur can pull the sword. So they put it off until Pentecost, which is June. Now there's that last bit where it says that Arthur was sent to live with Sir Ulfius and Sir Brastias, and this paragraph became the basis for the whole 5th book in my series, because think of it. Ulfius was the main knight of Arthur's father, Uther Pendragon, and Brastias, known as Gretel in my novel, was the main knight of Uther's mother, Igraine. And the thought of Arthur hanging out and being trained by these 2 knights was just too much for me to resist. So this book becomes about Arthur being trained by them between having to pull the sword numerous times. And also in this book, as I alluded to, Brastias finds out that Ulfius looked like him when he came to deceive Igraine, and also throw Brastias' whole life into turmoil, and he isn't really thrilled when he finds that out. Alrighty, let's move on to chapter 7.